You're joining us for another deep dive, and this time we're heading into some really speculative territory. We're looking at this totally fictional conspiracy theory about something called Myziam.
Right, yeah. It's important to stress that fictional, we've got these source texts that lay out the idea, but it's presented purely as a thought experiment, a narrative.
Exactly. So think of this less as us investigating some hidden truth, and more like exploring a piece of speculative fiction. Our mission really is just to unpack the bits and pieces of this theory.
See what makes it tick, why someone might find this kind of story compelling.
Okay, so let's start right there with the name, Myziam.
Hmm.
The source is immediately painted as, well, enigmatic, shrouded in mystery.
Yeah, the name itself feels designed to sound profound, or maybe just vague enough to hold whatever meaning the theory wants to project onto it.
And the theory doesn't just give one answer for what it is, right?
No, not at all. That's one of the first interesting things. It kind of branches out immediately, offers several possibilities for what Myziam could be, all within this fictional framework.
So interpretation number one, Myziam as an extra-dimensional entity.
Right, like something existing outside our normal space and time.
But it can still interact with our reality. Poke through, maybe.
That's the idea. Influence things here even though it's fundamentally elsewhere. You see that a lot in science fiction, of course.
Sure. It's a way to explain the unexplainable within the story, isn't it? If something weird happened.
Blame the extra-dimensional entity operating by rules we don't get. Yeah. It sets up this idea of hidden actors.
Okay, then there's the second angle. Myziam as a cosmic consciousness.
This one's broader, more philosophical, like a vast ancient mind woven into the fabric of the universe itself.
Permeating everything and subtly guiding things.
Kind of, yeah. Guiding cosmic evolution, maybe even the development of life, according to this view within the theory. It's less of a distinct being and more of an intelligence field.
That takes it in a very different direction. It brings up questions about, like, fate and free will, even in this fictional context.
Absolutely. If there's this overarching consciousness nudging things along, how much is chance? How much is predetermined by Myziam? It taps into that desire for, you know, a grand plan.
And the third interpretation they offer is Myziam as a hidden reality layer.
Yeah, this one feels maybe a bit more accessible. The idea that there's another layer of reality alongside ours, maybe interacting in subtle ways.
Through energy or information, consciousness itself?
Exactly. Not necessarily a being or a cosmic mind, but a whole different dimension or plane that's connected to ours, influencing things behind the scenes.
It implies our everyday reality isn't the whole story. There are hidden gears turning.
Right. Which is, again, a pretty common element in these kinds of narratives, the sense that there's more going on than meets the eye.
Okay, so those are the what is Myziam possibilities within the fiction.
Yeah.
Let's get into its alleged influence. The theory claims it's had a massive impact on, well, pretty much everything.
Oh yeah, the scoop is huge. First off, the claim that Myziam has been guiding human evolution.
So not just natural selection.
Nope. The theory suggests a deliberate steering, shaping us, physically and mentally, towards some kind of goal.
A predetermined destiny, maybe. That really changes how you'd view humanity's whole story if you bought into this fictional premise.
It does, removes a lot of the randomness.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop with biology. The theory also posits Myziam is manipulating historical events.
Ah, the hidden hand in history.
Right. Major turning points, wars, empires rising and falling, even big technological leaps.
All supposedly orchestrated by Myziam, pulling the strings.
That's the claim. It imposes a kind of secret order onto the chaos of history. You can see why that might appeal in a conspiracy narrative, right? It offers a single, unifying explanation.
It simplifies things, I guess. Even belief systems aren't immune, are they?
No, the theory suggests religion and mythology are actually sort of echoes. Veiled references to Myziam.
Like ancient people encountered it or sensed it and tried to describe it in their stories.
Something like that. It reinterprets myths and scriptures through this Myziam lens, which is, you know, easy to do because old texts are often ambiguous.
You can read almost anything into them if you try hard enough.
Pretty much. Then, bringing it more up to date, the theory claims Myziam is controlling information and technology.
Oh, so?
Two main ways, it seems. One is suppressing knowledge, anything that might reveal its existence or its true plans.
The classic cover-up.
Exactly. And the other is subtly guiding tech development, pushing things in certain directions, maybe holding other things back, all to serve its own inscrutable purposes.
That definitely taps into modern anxieties, doesn't it? About tech control, information manipulation.
For sure. It projects those fears onto a cosmic scale. And the ultimate endgame, in some versions of this theory,
Let me guess. Something big is coming.
you got it, preparing for a cosmic event, could be a reality shift, an interdimensional merger, some huge transformation.
Something world-shattering, presumably.
Right. It gives the whole narrative a climax to build towards, a reason for all this supposed manipulation over millennia.
Okay, so the claims are massive. What about the evidence? Within the fiction, what do proponents point to? I imagine actual proof is scarce.
Scarce is putting it mildly. The theory itself usually says direct proof is hidden or suppressed. That's part of the conspiracy.
Convenient.
Isn't it gross? But they do rely on certain types of claims as evidence. First up, cryptic references in ancient texts.
We touch on that with mythology, finding vague passages and saying, that's Myziam.
Exactly. It's all about interpretation, often very selective interpretation, seeing patterns where maybe none were intended.
Right.
Unexplained astronomical phenomena, weird signals from space, strange nebulae, stuff astronomers can't immediately explain.
It's attributed to Myziam doing something out there.
Precisely, taking real cosmic mysteries and slotting them into the theory as evidence of Myziam's activity.
Taps into that awe of the unknown in space.
Definitely. Then closer to home, there are technological anomalies.
Like out-of-place artifacts or sudden scientific breakthroughs that seem to come from nowhere.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Stuff that seems historically or technologically incongruous is flagged as possible evidence of Myziam's meddling.
Okay. Then you get the personal accounts, I assume.
Testimonies of contactees and mystics. People claiming direct experience visions, psychic messages, altered states where they encountered Myziam.
Which is inherently subjective, right? Hard to verify someone else's vision.
Impossible, really, from an evidence standpoint. Deeply meaningful for the person, maybe, but not objective proof for anyone else.
And the last one sounds familiar. Suppressed scientific discoveries.
The old classic. Rumors of scientists who found proof but were silenced. Labs shut down, research buried.
All part of the cover-up narrative.
Exactly. It feeds into that distrust of authority. They're hiding the truth. It's a very common element in these kinds of stories.
So if Myziam is supposedly real within this fiction, and being hidden, why? What are the alleged motives for the big secret?
The theory offers a few reasons. One big one is simply humanity's unpreparedness.
We just couldn't handle the truth. It would break our collective minds.
Sort of. The idea that knowing about Myziam would be too disruptive, psychologically or socially. So the secrecy is framed as almost protective. Paternalistic, maybe.
Another motive.
Maintaining control. Simple power dynamics. If knowledge of Myziam could overturn governments, religions, our whole understanding of reality...
And those currently in power have a vested interest in keeping it quiet.
Right. Fear of losing control, fear of societal collapse. It plays on real-world anxieties about how power structures react to challenges.
Okay, that makes sense within the logic of the conspiracy.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, a slightly more complex idea is that some groups might be actively serving Myziam's agenda.
Knowingly. Or are they dupes?
Could be either, according to different threads of the theory. Maybe they think they're aligned with a higher purpose, or maybe they're just pawns being manipulated by Myziam towards its goals.
That adds another layer. It's not just hiding it, it's actively working with it, potentially.
And finally, perhaps the grandest motive, protecting a cosmic secret.
Meaning the truth itself is dangerous.
Potentially. Like, the knowledge of Myziam is so fundamental, so tied into the basic laws of reality, that revealing it could have unforeseen, maybe catastrophic consequences for everyone.
Unraveling reality itself, perhaps.
That's the implication. It really ramps up the stakes. The secret isn't just important, it's essential for cosmic stability.
Wow. Okay, so it's a really elaborate fictional construct, but we need to keep circling back. It is fiction. The source is presented that way, and it's crucial we talk about the holes in it.
Absolutely. The source material itself, even while outlining the theory, implicitly points towards its speculative nature. The biggest issue, obviously, is the complete lack of empirical evidence.
Right. No actual verifiable proof exists for Myziam as described. It's all narrative and interpretation.
And as we said, that evidence relies so heavily on subjective interpretation, finding tenuous connections, maybe even falling for hoaxes or relying on totally unreliable sources.
Which is typical for these kinds of sprawling theories, fictional or otherwise.
Yeah. And it's worth acknowledging the psychological appeal of these grand cosmic mysteries. The Myziam idea, like many similar concepts, plugs into real human questions.
Where did we come from? Is there a purpose? Are we alone? That kind of stuff.
Exactly. That deep curiosity makes narratives like this one inherently interesting, even fascinating, regardless of whether they have any basis in fact.
But the source material also hints at the dangers, right? Even with fiction, blurring lines can be problematic.
Definitely. Accepting claims like these uncritically, even if labeled fiction initially, can sometimes, bleed into real-world beliefs. It can foster distrust in actual evidence-based knowledge.
So critical thinking is key, always. Engaging with it as a story, as a thought experiment is fine. Believing it without question is less advisable.
Precisely. The Myziam concept, as laid out, is a great case study in how these elaborate narratives get built and why they capture the imagination.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. We've taken a deep dive today into the purely fictional conspiracy theories surrounding Myziam. We looked at the different ways it's imagined: extra-dimensional entity, cosmic consciousness, hidden reality layer.
We explored its supposed vast influence on evolution, history, belief, technology, all leading to some cosmic event.
And we examined the kinds of evidence used within the fiction: ancient texts, anomalies, testimonies, and the supposed motives for keeping it all secret.
And crucially, we've kept reminding ourselves, and you, the listener, that this is presented as a fictional construct. It's not real.
But as you said, its fictional nature doesn't mean it isn't interesting as an example.
Right. It really highlights that enduring human fascination with the big unknowns. Origins, destiny, the universe's hidden workings.
Concepts like Myziam, even imagined ones, seem to speak to that part of us.
Which leads to maybe a final thought for our listeners. Why do these huge, vague, often unprovable ideas, even fictional ones like Myziam, resonate so strongly?
What does the appeal of these fictional conspiracies tell us about our own hopes, our fears, our anxieties about existence, and our place within it?
Yeah. Even if Myziam itself is just a story, pondering why we're drawn to such stories, that might reveal something interesting about us.